Most automators are broke, not because they can't build, but because they don't know how to price. Hourly project pricing caps their income before they even start. I know this because I was in this exact same boat a few months ago. And since then, I've learned how to actually scale this and how to actually implement a correct pricing structure to make well over $50,000. So what we're going to do is go through this video, and hopefully by the end of it, you will see how to price correctly, where to even start, and really just implement a model that grows with you as you grow as a person and as a company. So let's jump into this. Like we said, and I've also got my new pen, so we're going to do some great drawings today. Most automators are broke, not because they can't build, but because they don't know how to price. Pricing is a huge factor within this industry. The vast majority wing the pricing model. Like, it's just, that's fact, right? They sort of take a stab at the dark. Now, for starters, that is a huge issue. I understand the first projects, we want to get social proof and, just do whatever we can to do it. But what happens is they fall into this loop, right? And they, even though they start here and, the project goes across and the start's over here, they do 500, and then, let's say 2 months has passed, and then over here, it's like 4 months has passed, and they're still charging 500. And then when they get here, they sort of like crash and burn because they just never readjusted. So it's okay at this front part here to actually do a lower price, but that should not last long at all. So what is our three models of pricing? We have hourly, very easy to start with, and you can justify it very easy for any person. When you're going to actually sell it to the client, you can say, just pay me whatever, I work 12 hours, and you're just going to give me $45 an hour, right? Whatever makes sense to you. And that's really how most people start, which is completely fine. But you're always seen as a hired helper, and you're always seen as a freelancer, and you're always seen as just a quick fix person, right? It puts you at the sort of lower ranks within the industry, just like, I'm here, just quick buck, and then, maybe I have a full-time job or something like that. So an example is, 10 hours at $50, we obviously charge $50, and they save 10K a month. It's okay when we first get our first few clients, but really these two numbers here should really tickle your brain and say, okay, so if I'm making this client $10,000 a month and I'm charging $500 because it's taken me 10 hours, why am I doing that, right? It should click in there in the brain and just say, okay, this has to be a loss. Like, there's something wrong with this model, really. So this is the first one, and most people start here. So they start the hourly, and then we move to project base. So project base would be, for example, a $1,500 project, and they run it maybe not 5 years, but let's just say a month, and they make 500K off it. So maybe in the month they make 5K. You would then charge $1,500 for the whole project, whether it takes you 1 hour, whether it takes you 10 hours, whether it takes you 10 minutes, right? You cap it at a single price. Now, clients love this because they see, no matter how much you work, they don't have to pay anything extra. It's like a solidified price. It's fixed in stone. This is exactly what we want. And they get really happy with project pricing. The upfront cost is usually, when we get to the lower end of clients in terms of financials, they're not a fan of project based because obviously, if we're doing this, we should be asking for 50% upfront. Spell upfront wrong. We should be asking 50 and then 50% at close. So this is the project based, right? Usually, maybe the third to fifth client should come under here. And eventually you'll get so used to these that this will become your main base, your main regular client. And then we have a value based. And as the name suggests, value based, this purely is based on the amount saved here, right? Amount saved on here. So if this is 5K, then we charge 2 to 3K up front. It's not the whole 5K. If we then said, okay, I'm going to charge you 5K, what will happen is they'll do these quick math in their head and they'll say, hang on, that's 100%. This is like, why am I doing this? And even though, we're talking monthly, they still think in their head, they're like, I don't want to spend 100. We're doing this. We obviously have, 60, 70%. So in their brain, they're like, okay, I still have 30%. I still have 30% profit in this, right? And this is the best way, the correct way to price. And a lot of people will sort of go, oh, but then how do I know how much it saves? Questions. You need, for this bit here, this needs to be qualified. That's a bad cue. But these need to be qualified. In your calls, you ask questions that circle around this whole thing. What are you looking to get done with this automation? Okay, you want to, input it into your sales team. What's it currently costing you in terms, just curious, just in terms of, staffing? Let's do it, doing a phone agent. What's it costing you to run these calls for staff? Is it a full-time staff? Oh, okay. So they run full-time. Right. So that's 5K. Well, we put 50, but we say 50K a year. Okay. So if we go like 5K a month, like how much are they working? Are they working like, 30 hours? How much phone calls are they doing? Are they doing 10? Okay. And we can sort of gather from here that this number is pretty close to the 5K. You want to ask it in a more a friendly way. Don't just drill them. What are you earning? That's the wrong way to approach it. But we qualify the questions when we ask them. And from there, we charge around-ish, the 60 to 70%. So those are your three pricing models. As you get into more of this sort of career, you've usually transitioned from 1 to 2 second, third. And you sort of go into this linear approach just as you're learning. If you're really good with sales, usually most people that have got this sales experience will hit the third straight off the bat. So what's an example of a couple of these? Well, we have, go back to red, a week pricing model, I guess we'll say, is I'll automate your onboarding emails, right? $500 project. There's no dollar quantified to this, right? So when we go to do it and we're trying to sell this pricing based model, we need to make sure that we tell the value across it. And that's another issue that sort of happens within these pricing. So you may go in and say, I want to do a value-based pricing here, but how do you present that in a value? I'm going to automate your onboarding emails. Okay, cool. That's, how much can I charge? Can I go value-based? We're not really asking questions. It's not tied to some sort of revenue, right? So I don't know the value of the onboarding email. We could do staff efficiency, but that's not super well. So really you're going to get stuck with projects and you're going to get stuck with hourly rates with models like this. Now, a stronger one is obviously, and you can see the difference between them, is I'll book 30% more sales for you every month. Now, what this does is we have, let's say we do 10 for the sake of sales, and this equals, let's just do 1K each, 10K. What we're going to do then is 30% more sales. We're going to go 13 maybe, and then we go 13K. And what this means is this is going to cost $5,000 to do the extra, right? So we can see there's a visible margin with this. Now, this one, they'll obviously look at that and they'll go, that's not really worth it, right? But when we bring it up and let's say 10 equals 100K, right? So 10 grand offers, and we book to 13 for 5K. I don't know what happened with that. 5K. We can see the price now is for $5,000. I will get an extra 30K, which then means 25K profit. Profit, right? So if we're getting this much profit, these are what we would say strong, right? We've qualified them. We can see that we make 30K. Ideally, if we're making 30K, this 5K should be about 15K, ideally. But we can see that it's justified. They will look at this and they'll say, this is 100%. I'm in on this. We're coming over here and we've got just onboarding emails. How can you justify any sort of high figure for just this? And this is really where and why you see a lot of emails nowadays, cold emails coming out with offers such as this. So a very quick rule of thumb that you can do, whether you're doing hours saved or hourly value or revenue added, we can estimate it around about the monthly game, right? So we want to get a number, multiply it by 12, and then charge 10 to 20% of that as your fee, as the base. As we go up, obviously, we're going to start hitting about the 30 to 70%. So, for example, if we save $3,000 a month, we also want to do it in yearly, not just monthly, because monthly, it doesn't really justify, right? This amount, this amount doesn't really justify this amount in the brain. But when we put it into a year long, what happens is, we have month 1, and then 2, 3, 4. Let's do a few months for a second. Maybe this saving is $0. This one is $0. This is $500. This is 1K. And then we start ramping it up, right? So sure, the first couple of months, we won't see a huge increase. But as we add these all up, 5, maybe get 10, 20, something like that, we can see a saving of a huge amount. So 36K a year. And if we charge 3.6K, you can then automatically go, okay, that's a 33K profit. This is how we want to do it. So, right. So we want to estimate the monthly game, the hours saved times the hours value or revenue added, and then charge about 10 to 20% to start, up it to 30 to 70% at the end of the year. So another question that will possibly pop into your head is, how do we estimate this? If it's a hours saved over here, then we would obviously do staffing. So if we save 10 hours for an automation and they get paid, I don't know, $35 an hour, then we know, we're saving $350 per week. That's how we come up with this number here. This is that hour saved times the hour value. So people forget. People forget they're not selling hours; they're selling leverage, and that's if we can do anything that can. If I can just get across any point in this whole video, it is that we are not selling based on hours. And you will get the question, because I still get the question for some clients. They'll say, oh, so you're charging, like 30, 40% of it. So you're charging $5,000. That means your hourly rate must be like $500 an hour. Yeah. no, but it's like, well, we don't charge based on hour, right? I make you money, you pay me to make you money, right? And so you still have these sort of clients that you need to, they'll always have this assumption that you're selling the hours. And it's, that's the system, right? Most people, they work 9 to 5 and they are just so used to just an hourly wage that when we go to the businesses, sometimes some people just, they don't have that thing in their brain where they're looking at numbers like this and saying, oh, wait, we're saving this much money a year or we're making this much money a year. So when you're doing your agency, you just want to make sure that you are selling leverage, not the hours, right? So if a system runs 24/7, you should be pricing it like you're renting out a money machine, not manual labor. We have, that's bad. But anyway, and this is a desk. It's a very terrible desk, but I gotta practice my drawing on these. If you think about it, this could be an ATM, and this is a person working a 9 to 5. This gives you money no matter what, 24 hours a day, 24/7. We have dollars coming in. This one as an hourly rate, and you're only making dollars for the 8 hours. So when we go to clients, we're like, do you want an ATM? I can literally print you money. If we're doing revenue or lead generation, I can literally print you money 24/7. Like we have cold emails that are going out all the time. We have, maybe we got replying agents coming. We have people messaging, via social media. We have phone agents going out. These people are working 24/7. And, there'll be an argument of, okay, but, it doesn't work at nighttime. Like, okay, it doesn't work at nighttime, but guess what? In America, and let's just do Australia. I spelled Australia wrong. That's a bad start. We should go in the country. But in America, this is, no, let's go 8 a.m. And then this is 8 p.m. So when we hit 6 p.m. here, this is 6 a.m. here, all we do is we shut down America and then we switch, phone agent, lead generation, whatever you want to do, to the other country, and then it's running 24/7. So the logic that a lot of businesses do and people that get stuck in this trap is that they're not understanding this is running or has the potential to run 24/7, and that we need to actually price it accordingly like an ATM, and not just hey, it's only running a few hours a day. You want to make sure that you're selling the leverage, the pricing model that we have in here. So what's some examples of this? Recruitment agencies. Automated candidate screening. They save 60 hours per week at 60 hours per hour, $60 per hour. Words are hard today. It's Saturday. And they're doing 40 hours a month. We're saving $2,400. So we would charge $2,000 to $3,000. Now, remember the statistics. We're going this based on 12 months, which will be, long shot. Let's just go 20,000. Now we can see how the numbers correlate. So when we go to sell the system, we're not selling it, hey, I'm gonna charge you $2,000 for this. And it's gonna save you $2,500. They're gonna be like, Why would I pay that? Like, it's a negative number. But going into there, hey, I'm going to charge it, it's going to be 2K, but you're going to save $25,000 this year, the first year that we have implemented. Now it ticks in their brain. Okay, that makes sense. Ecom, abandoned carts, huge recovery. Like, we can recover a crazy amount per month. We have an additional 10K revenue per month. So we can charge 5K setup and 1K retainer. Remember, this is 120K that we're saving per year. We're literally charging 5K, right? And the retainer will end up being a 12K retainer for the whole year. So altogether, 17K. But realistically, if once you have some sort of sale experience, this would probably at least be 7,500 at least. Coaching business, very large. Automated pipeline bookings, and we can get 20% more calls. And some of these people, even though we've got 5K a month, there's some very high ticket coaches. One of my first retainers was 15K singular per client. So if we got 20% more calls on a 15K offer, this system becomes 10 times more valuable. So for this one alone, we can charge at least 7-ish K, depending on how big the offer is, because realistically we're saving then 130K. I don't know if my maths is on today. My coffee isn't fully drunk. At 7%, at 7K. But if we're earning this, I would honestly round it up to about the 10K mark. So this gives you some examples of what we can achieve with these pricing models. And the final slide, I've harped on enough about financial figures, and I've tried to draw beautifully with my new pen, which isn't going too well. If you take away one thing, stop charging for your hands and start charging for the cash register, the ATM that we built. The second you anchor the ROI, you'll never compete with $10 per hour Upwork freelancers. So just for a thought experiment, when ads get put on Upwork and I say I need this project done, no matter what, a lot of the lower per hour freelancers will say, yes, it'll take me 10 hours to do, right? But a sort of experienced person will say, I'll get it done for 5K, and you're going to save, 30 hours per week. So there's not even a mention of this hourly rate, right? Because we know, we get paid based on value. So whenever these jobs post up, it's sort of if you apply for them, we don't apply it for as a $10 an hour. You'll see a lot of them just put fixed prices. So the ad will be like 10 to 75 per hour, and then you'll see in the bids it'll be like $2,500. Like milestones. So that's the main thing. If you can learn to price anchor it to the ROI, you will do incredibly well in this industry. And this is a huge reason why I see it. I saw a LinkedIn post the other day saying that automators don't make any more than 10, 15K a month, because all they do is they sell products, and that's where the lie happens. But that is not the case. If you anchor correctly, and some of these, for an example, where we can charge these large amounts for systems, 10K is, you can make that a single person as long as you anchor to a figure that drives ROI. So that is my takeaway for this whole thing. For additional value, if you do have trouble trying to do how to reframe your offer for a niche, put it down in the comments and I'll help you out for this. I'm going to reply to every comment that goes below, and I'll give you a way to frame your offer around this pricing model, no matter the niche. So put that down below, and I'll see you in the next video.